We're now going to move to the iPad and look at the Adobe Spark Page app. And one thing I want to point out is Adobe does have a great number of free applications that you can download and use. You can request your Jamf admin at your school to push out to students. Just keep in mind that each Adobe application, although it is free to purchase, does require an account to use. And the free Adobe account that we had spoken of in the first Spark Page video for the Mac still applies to this. You can create a free Adobe account which gives you access to all of their different features, not necessarily the full programs, but you are able to use them with the applications you can download for free. Then it is going to require that Adobe account to sign in. You get 2 gigabytes of free space to use, and it is a nice thing to have. For those of you who maybe work with students who are a little more creative, maybe you want to have them have some more powerful tools, you may want to explore and look at some of the Adobe options that are available. When it comes to student accounts, before we move forward, Adobe does have an under 13 policy that we observe in relation to students creating accounts. If your students are over 13, they are able to make an account for free, and they can use it the duration that they are at WCPS in relation to using Adobe on the iPad for the applications, or if they're going to use it on a Mac or a PC and go to the site spark.adobe.com. If your students are under 13, we are working on some updates to how we can fully support that, but some of the things that schools in Washington County have done, individual teachers, if there are a few students who want to use it, may have them use their own teacher account to sign in, not giving them the password, but signing in for them, allowing them to work and create, and then they sign out as soon as the student's ready to leave the classroom. The other thing a few schools have done is requested to have their school account, which all schools have a controlling account in relation to the name of the school at WCPS and the rest of it, but some have used that, and then once the students are signed into that, they are able to create and use, and someone within the school, whether it be in the classroom or further, would kind of just keep an eye on that account to make sure it's not getting too bloated in relation to the space. If you would like to discuss more options, please feel free to reach out to me. Send me an email at treskev@wcps.k12.md.us, and we can discuss some other options. So now that we've talked about the accounts, let's go ahead and open up the Spark Page app. And the first thing that you will notice is that you do need to sign in. And if you already have created an Adobe ID, it's recommended that you use that. If not, you can log in with your Google through WCPS, but we recommend that you create a free Adobe ID so that way it syncs across the Creative Cloud if you're on your Mac and you switch, and it's just a little easier to use. So if you have not, you could sign up for free using your WCPS account, or you can go to your login and sign in with your account that you have created. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And this is going to be, once I've signed in, my landing page for Spark Page. You'll notice that I have several examples that I can look at. There's a gear in the upper left-hand corner, which is my settings, so I can look at this and take a look. I can see my account. I can sync projects to make sure that they're going from one to the other, because it will sync. It's very much a useful cloud-based option. It does have its privacy. It does have restrictions. So you'll notice that this overrides the default publish setting from public to unlisted. So I'm going to turn that on. What that means is anytime you create a page, it defaults to public. Adobe Pages works very similar to YouTube in its restrictions for privacy. So YouTube defaults to a public setting. What that means is anyone can go into YouTube and search for the name of the video or your name and find it. If you make it unlisted, it's still accessible to anyone with the link, but no one can search it publicly. No one can search it directly and actually find you or your work. So keeping it unlisted protects you, it protects your privacy a little bit more. But if you want to explore that public option so that you can maybe have a little bit of noticeability and that Adobe would actually maybe use some of your work to as models and examples, feel free to let them use that. They also have their About section and some help if you would like to use that. One thing to note, we're going to look at My Pages first in the bottom right. If you click My Pages, you'll see that these are all the pages that are associated with my Adobe account that I made on the Mac. We looked at and we created a test page using the Mac and the browser. And take a look at test page 2 on the right. You'll see the download arrow. I created test page 2 on my Mac, and it is not inherently on my iPad. So it's showing up as in my account. But for me to be able to actually edit that, which is a pre-created site, when I touch that, it's actually going to pull and download all the information from that page onto my iPad. Now, the reason that that would be significant is because if I have loaded that page up with a lot of heavy visuals, a lot of videos, it is going to eat up a little bit of space on my iPad. Not to the point where you're going to have to delete the app, but just keep that in mind. So that's what that arrow means. But once you have the page there, you'll see 3 dots to the side. I can delete it, or once I've actually downloaded the site, I can unpublish it, duplicate, and you'll see your other options there. So before you go in to edit a page that you've maybe created on your Mac or on the website, just know that when you go to the iPad, you will have to choose that in order to be able to work with it and delete it. This concludes part 1 of Adobe Page. Please continue to part 2 to finish watching how to create, manipulate, and add to your Adobe Spark page.